This is Margaret Howard. She
Thank
wrote
you. Coat of many colors, Robin.
The Coat of Many Colors. It's a definitive guide to patterns in the sheep, and she's going to be talking to us about our Gotland sheep today.
Thank you. My name is Margaret Howard. I run and operate Towanda Farms. I was lucky enough to be able to figure out how to control color pattern in sheep when nobody else was actually telling breeders how to do this. To me, it was very important because my farm, anyway, and I think most of yours, I can count on half my income from fleece and half from meat. So if I'm going to get money from a product, I need to know how to control it. You Gotland folks are under even more of a problem insofar as you are dealing with what I would consider a composite breed. You're considering upgrading, but you've got 3 foundational ewe breeds, Shetland, Finn, and Icelandic. And then you have 7 long wool, luster, curly. So you got the short tail and the beautiful curly locks. But you were using semen mostly, well, you brought it in from Sweden, UK, New Zealand. Then you also brought in embryos from New Zealand at one time. I became very interested in your problems, didn't know what they were, but then I went to your website, and you have a very definitive breed standard, but it doesn't want spotting, and it doesn't want to see color pattern. However, 75% of the ewes whose photos are on your website show color pattern, 75% of your foundational ewes. 60% of the rams that were used for semen import had any combination of spotting or color pattern. So it would seem that your breed standard was fighting some of your foundational work. I don't know how comfortable any of you are with genes. Let me just say that it's wonderful that you have the foundational breeds you do, because every sheep, no matter the breed, no matter the color, comes in with a minimum of 60,000 genes apiece. Okay. That means anytime you put a ram and a ewe together, you would take 60,000 and put it to the power of 59,999. You end up essentially with 3 billion unique genetic combinations you can make. So you've got enough spread between your imported semen and your short tail, your fat tail, northern, and your long wools to just have a lot of fun with those genes. The important thing is for you to realize is it is a composite and it's new, brand new. So you get to define what it is. You get to say, of those 60,000, I am interested in, or my farm can benefit from. Are you going to emphasize fleece in the first few years? Are you going to emphasize, I want a certain body type? I want a certain conformation type. I think the worst mistake, and I've seen it done in other breeds that are composites, is to emphasize one trait. Select based on multi-traits. You can prioritize a couple that you need for your farm, but don't try to do everything at once. Do not try to do everything at once. Now, your fleeces, of course, are very famous for how beautiful they are. But in the pens that I just went to see at the Lynn Fairgrounds, I saw spotting, which breed standard says is a no-no. I saw pattern, which a breed standard says is a no-no. Now, You can, fleece is one of the,
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
please ask
I need
question.
to make sure, because I am so novice in all this, and I need to make sure I understand exactly what all this means.
Oh,
So,
please.
when you say you saw spotting,
Yes.
what do you actually mean? Different shades of the uniform color that we're looking for, or actually, you know, white spots or light fawn spots, or what does that really mean?
Okay.
And where is it?
Okay. That depends on how many genes, the spotting genes that animal has, where it is. Normally, the most common type, I should back up on you. I should back up. That's not fair to do. All these genes have locations in chromosomes. Spotting, they show it as an S, capital S. Every sheep is going to have a pair of those. Okay. But we don't know, if it doesn't have any spotting, it's a plus.
Okay.
Plus, plus. That sheep has no spotting, never going to show any. You could have a sheep that has one copy of the no spotting and one copy of spotting. This is the most common, and it's what I saw in there.
Okay.
That normally, if you had looked very closely at a lamb, you would have seen a few little hairs on the tippy of its tail. But you will see white right here. Okay, not fawn, not gray,
Okay.
not tan. You have one other choice here, and I want to show. You could have both. Okay, so this, for the little video audience here, S plus, no spotting at all. S plus, SS, usually crown and tail tip. You can eliminate that by selection if you don't care for spotting.
And so we're talking about white.
It's usually white or silver, but it is very distinct from what, when you see color pattern, like you people are after grays primarily, you're going to notice it's lighter, but you never get a white. It's a gray or a silver or a fawn.
Okay.
Okay, now you're a novice, so let me take this opportunity to use you.
And I am as well. So.
Okay, you want to control for your product on color. Sheep, there are 3 or 4 genetic sites that are going to give you what you want. And it's easy to remember. I made an acronym out of it. It's the base of your sheep. Okay? B, capital B, is what they use for pigment. Each of your sheep is going to have a pair of these. Okay, so each of your sheep have a pair of genes at the black or brown location.
Okay.
Okay. Each of our sheep have a color pattern. Even though your Gotlands say you don't want to have a color pattern, you do. A sheep doesn't live without a color pattern. All right? You have.
Our standard was referring to a pattern other than gray.
That's not what your standard says.
That's not what it says.
Your standard says any distinct pattern. That wording is incorrect genetically. There are 18 choices here. And depending on how you mix and match, you can get close to 40 different shades of fleece, which is good profitability. All right? S, we just did, went through with you. Let me see, can I actually do this? Oh, hey. Old age has its benefits. I've made the, okay. This is extension. This could be dangerous for you. Your sheep also have a pair at extension, okay? Have any of you here ever put 2 of your colored sheep together and gotten a white or a white and tan lamb?
Yeah, I have.
I have a white ewe that gives a white and a black animal every year.
She's white?
She's white.
Who are you putting her with?
Whatever Ram Carol tells me to.
She's not the one causing that.
Oh yeah?
Uh-uh.
Well, she's been with 3 different Rams and it's happened all those times. Interesting. I just felt she was dominant.
Okay, here's how that could happen.
Okay.
Here's how that could happen. She could have on her agouti pair, she could have 1 copy of the white and tan.
Okay.
On this one, in order for her to give anything colored with a recessive ram, she has to have 1 of the other 18 color patterns. Do you understand? So she's, when you see a white lamb from her, she's throwing this to her egg. If you see a colored lamb from her, she's throwing one of her recessive color patterns. White is a color pattern, it's the most dominant. If it's present, you don't see anything else.
Yeah. Because this
So that's what's happening.
and 3 were white and 1 was black.
The reason I was asking is that there is to go back to where I was.
So here's another example for you though, along those lines. So I have a ewe, she's 50% Finn, 50% Gotland. And I put her with a 95% gray ram, and she throws black and white.
Same situation.
Same situation.
Same exact situation. Because the Finns, she's white.
Yeah, and she has some white on her.
Yes.
I can see, you know,
There are 18 different color patterns, and they go from the most dominant, which is the white and tan, to the most recessive, which I believe you refer to as solid. That would be all black, or depending on the pigment base at B, all brown. All right?
Self-color more correct to use?
Yes.
For the solid?
Yes, but if you guys use solid, it's fine with me, but self, yes.
We're trying to change.
We're trying to reach a perspective that's more understandable to people. And
Okay,
also-
and you have, I looked up your foundational breeds. You are trying to fight, essentially, 10 color patterns. That's why I'm saying you need to pick your poison for your own farm. Are you going to work on conformation? Are you going to work on your AFD, keeping your CV together so your fleeces are nice? Do you have weak leg maybe? Maybe you need to work on structure. Because it's a heck of a lot easier to have any movement on fleece, whether it's the quality or the color, but you can't move structure. Structure will take you a long, long time. So make sure it's a good sheep first, then evaluate your fleece, then evaluate your color patterns. Now, you guys, because of what you have, you might want to write this down, I don't know, you are fighting, or have the possibility of fighting, 10 color patterns. And I'll say them out in English, and then we can get to the symbols if you want. You've got the white and tan, which we just went through. That's dominant. You've got badger.
Yeah.
You've got black and tan. You've got light blue, blue, English blue. There are a bunch of blues in the barn right now. You've got gray, which is a color pattern, AG. And I suspect you've got dark blue and midnight blue, as well as self. One of the benefits, one of the things we tried to do in this book, a friend of mine did the drawings, we tried to show the different display areas. Now, on the Romney and on a lot of not composite breeds, I take photos of 5 different areas. The sheep will express a color pattern, not the white and tan, but a regular color pattern. They like to express it in the face and neck region, all right? The saddle and the belly. So when I dock and tag, I take a series of 5 shots. I put the ear tag in, then I take a picture so I don't get my lambs mixed up. I take a picture of that ear tag. Then I take a beautiful close-up of the face, turn the lamb around, and take the back, because you're going to have patterns that show up on the ear and areas of aversion that show up on the neck. Then I flip the animal to the side. We take a picture of its side, tip the animal up, take a picture of its belly. Okay? And many times, especially if you have dark or midnight blue, you will want to have the animal kind of crouched and take a picture of its knees. A lot of times you'll get a display at the knee. Okay?
And what is the dark and midnight blue? What does it look like on a very pragmatic level on an animal?
What dark blue?
Blue that you're describing.
Midnight blue is very difficult. I just announced that one.
Okay.
Just now announced that one.
Okay.
And that is far enough away, you would want to find dark blue before you found that. Now I've got dark blue.
Do we have some dark blue in the barn there that you could show us? Or?
See, the thing is, here's the problem. Remember I told you your sheep have a pair of this. If you had a blue is high in the hierarchy, dark blue is below it. You're not going to see the dark blue. This is very difficult.
Don't some of the patterns co-express though? And so you get kind of a mingling of both?
Well, they co-express, but what if the light on one pattern is covering up the light on the other pattern? Because the more contrast you have, the more silver, the more white. There's only, I told you the places they're going to show. And you've got 2 genes, color pattern genes. They'll cover it right up. Cover it right up. Let me give you an example. She asked about dark blue.
Sorry for asking all those questions.
Oh no, I'm so glad.
If we keep, I'm making myself the advocate for the very novice.
I'm very grateful because I am immersed with this with several breeds, and I forget what I've said to who. Very bad.
And I'm just realizing that we should probably have like a 3-month weekly class session to cover.
Okay. Here, actually, if you could stand up and take a look, you'd have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about, overlap. Okay. Here's light blue. Look at the display areas. This is the drama queen. Okay, this is a lot like Badger.
Okay.
I mean, you've got inside, outside of ears, you got this full-on mask like it's going to a party. You've got silver here, you've got this little neck thing. All right, look here at
That's
dark.
page 143 in the Coat of Many Colors.
Right,
Yeah.
it's all labeled.
Will you hold those up?
Oh, yes I will. Sorry. Okay, there's the drama queen. Take a look at what she, light blue, can cover up if you had dark blue as the second allele. Take a look at the overlap.
Oh wow.
So you could really get
See?
interesting colored groupings.
Yes, but you would never see this one necessarily. Well, it took me 6 different down matings to find out. I knew there was something strange, but I had to keep going lower and lower and lower in the hierarchy in order to find this, because I had a lot of blues. I suspect from the colors I'm seeing in your Gotlands that you are not dealing with light blue. I suspect you do have regular blue. Now, remember, these drawings are off just a generalized sheep, and your sheep is not a generalized sheep. It does a lot of wonderful, crazy things. All right. That's blue, and here is your English blue, which I'm sure you've got. But again, this is going to be in grays, and I'm talking here not about your kind of sheep. This is for general, you know. So I can take my pictures at when I dock and tag. That's on day 2. And Robin was telling me that you can't really see anything until they're about a month.
Sometimes 2 weeks, but yeah.
Well, 2 weeks would be better because then you could flip the sheep and get the pictures you need. Now, let's go back to what this lady asked about, dark blue. You're not going to see it as stark as it is here, because this is based on Romneys, CVMs, straight Shetlands, and what you've got is all those breeds all together, okay, and you've got a gray. This is going to be a contrast, almost like a shadow that you're going to be able to pick up in the camera. What's that? Why is that sheep got a little shadow there? All right. And what you're trying to do is get a group, a composite. For instance, I'll give you an example. You would recognize, I think, as shepherds, you would know the constellation Orion at lambing time, wouldn't you? Most all of you? All right. What if you only saw its belt? You would still know it was Orion.
Oh, yeah.
You're missing about 30 stars, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so these color patterns we can think of as a constellation of display. This is all possible, not necessarily all at once. For instance, I have a ram right now who's dark blue. He doesn't have any of this business up here. He's got a little teeny bit in his ears and these drippy, messy looking little teardrops. That's what he's got. That's the part of the constellation I can see on him. Okay? When I go to confirm it, I will put him on a color pattern that is lower than this. I will put him on either midnight or self to confirm. I want progeny proof before I sell a sheep to somebody and say, oh yeah, that's carrying dark blue. If they're paying me big bucks for a dark blue, I better have it. So I want progeny proof on that. Now, based on your breed standard, you too want to be in the low end of the list. Now, there is a whole list. I told you there were 18. This is a whole list of the just common color patterns. I don't have them all on here. There's 9, 10 more. The way I have them arranged is the amount of bright white light contrast in the pattern, the recognition, the constellation. So you start with white and go all the way down to self. They're supposed to be codominant, but if they cover up, they can be codominant as they want. If I can't see them, I don't know they're there.
Till the next time.
Yes, till the next time, surprise. But you, with your wanting your grays and liking the various colors of your charcoal, what you would want is down lower in the spectrum. You want to use your English, your dark, your midnight, and your self, all right, for that. You've got some gorgeous examples of that. You have very little spotting in this barn. I was surprised. Very little. Somebody's been doing something right. Very little spotting.
Somebody has been doing what?
A good job. A good job.
Well, I mean, we bring the best, probably.
Well, yes, but you could have seen, I would have expected to see spotting, you know.
Spotting's pretty easy to breed out, though. So I started with some, have a lot of spots.
Let me tell you, I've got a friend who does CVMs, who's in the middle of what is now a 4-year study. She is on her way to proving that there's not just one spotting site, the S that we show. She thinks, and she's got progeny proof off almost 700 lambs, that what happens at the spotting site is that it functions as a doorway. It opens up for another series of sites that she's calling Z, for lack of a better word. So that you can end up with these crazy spots like on Jacobs and CVMs and things like that. That's not the S location alone. That's the S location opening the door and saying, go to it. You're free.
Much like the extension
Yeah.
on the patterns and colors.
So I didn't see a lot of that, which is really nice. And I did close the door on my Romneys on S because I don't want spotting. I want to be able to count on a fleece. And from what I saw in the barn, you guys have closed the S on the spotting pretty well. But your foundation ram sure came in with it. So you're going to have to keep watching for it, you know.
Right.
But if I were a Gotland breeder and you asked me something I would do, I think it looks like you're doing everything right. Emphasize the darkness, but emphasize the fleece you like. You have to love your product if you're going to sell it. Emphasize the kind of fleece you want. Go for the dark colors, and please multi-trait select. Do not base it on color alone. Do not base it on, oh, it's a lovely fleece, and you know you got this sheep like that, and it's got a lovely fleece. No, if it's not a good sheep, it's not a good Gotland. I would emphasize that. Pick something that bothers you at your farm, whether it's funny hooves or too long a tail or too light a fleece. Emphasize that. Straighten it out as part of your multi-trait tracking. Once you get that straightened out, add something else to your multi-trait tracking, but don't ever drop the first thing that bothered you. In other words, the traits you're looking at should keep getting larger and larger. For instance, I'll give you an example off my Romneys. Excuse me, but that's what okay. As we work lambs through the first time, the primary evaluation, I take a weight. But before they hop in that scale, I look at the points. I better have good black pigment at nose and points and lips. And I part the fleece in 3 places, shoulder, mid-side, and rump. It better be consistent. I don't care what any of it looks like, but it better look the same. Then the weight becomes important.
You talking the quality of the fleece? Or
No, I'm talking about structure. On our sheep, it's crimp. On you guys, it would be that the curl would be the same. If it's not consistent front to back, I'm not even going to pay attention to the weight. I don't care. Okay? So I'm going to pick up consistency, integrity of pigment, which is coming through the points. You guys can see that too. Then I'm going to take the weight. Then I'm going to adjust for twins, singles, rams, and ewes. I never put those together on my evaluation sheets. I make an adjustment factor.
So what's I'm a little confused on that.
If when I go to weigh, say it's single ewe lambs, okay, say I have 10 singles and 10 twins, let's pretend. Okay. You will find that your singles are gorgeous big animals. They'll probably weigh good 10, 15 pounds more on a single. Okay. So I will total up the average daily gain for my single ewes. No, excuse me. I will add up the weight on my singles. I will add up the weights on my twins. I'll divide the weight of my singles by the weight of my twins. I will get a 1.2, 1.3, something like that. That's an adjustment factor. That's a constant. That's their advantage for being a single. They got all the milk. Okay? That's the advantage. So I will then take my twin ewes and pop their ADG by that factor. I'll be able to put them all in one list, and I can make an actual fair selection giving credit for their birth status. Now, when I do that, normally every year there's always one single that no matter what you do, no matter the adjustment factor, she's just tops. So, okay, that's fine. But there's usually some twins that I didn't even look at. Oh, holy moly. You're way up there and there's 2 of you. Okay? Reproductive rate is very important to me. I want twins. I will make less than half the money on my flock if the difference between singles and twins. I will not do that.
Yeah.
So, same with color pattern. All right? So what you need is a list of the color patterns. know that in either of my books, it gives a hierarchy of how much contrast display. In the Gotlands, it will be fawn or silver or gray. It won't be a white. Make up that list, decide where you want to concentrate on. And if you're having any problems with convincing someone to multi-trait track, which I found a lot of people did not understand how to do, that's why I wrote the second book. This is for entering shepherds that want to make a buck, which is important to me. My sheep pay for everything, and they have to. So that's called zero-sum budgeting. I outline that in there. Plus it's got the dark blue in there, which I don't have in this one. And it gives an example and a how-to on the multi-trait. You'd have to change it a little bit, but not much. Good sheep are good sheep. My good Romneys, you would recognize. Your good Gotlands, I would recognize. So, just know that if you're going to control your fleece, you're trying to control 4 genes. They all come in pairs. One from the sire and one from the dam. And you don't know which one. Okay? It would appear from talking to you people, I don't know if you have to worry about extension dominant. But maybe because you've got Shetlands in there, I should explain this gene pair to you. Would that be helpful? Okay. Okay. Okay, it's called extension. That's a word. Okay? So because that's a word, they use a capital E. And it's on chromosome 14. All right. What the extension gene pair does is it allows this to express or not express. It denies it accessibility. All right. You have 2 choices at E. You have E wild. Anytime it's wild, the geneticists like to use plus sign. Okay, that means everything can show. All the patterns are good. You have them, we'll show them. All right? So, but then you have extension dominant, shown with a small d. With only 1 copy of that, nothing shows. All you'll get is the base pigment from the B locus showing. So you'll get all brown or all black sheep.
So they would appear like a self-color?
It would look like a self-color, but it's not, which is why I asked you if you were getting dominos. But you guys were getting dominos from white dams, so you weren't getting extension dominant, really. All right? So, E+, anything can show. ED, E+, only 1 copy, nothing can show. It's the same visually to you as double D. The minute you have even 1 copy of this from either the sire or the dam, you'll see solid. Now, if one parent is white, like both of you talked about, then that's not what you're dealing with. It's just you're dealing, in your case, it was a white who was carrying one of these color alleles. She decided to throw it to one, and the other one got white. Okay?
Well, what of our foundation breeds carry extension dominance? Can you
It is not.
What of our foundation breeds, which of our foundation breeds have extension dominance?
Well, had it at one time. People are getting rid of it. I think there was only I hate to limit it to one, but the one that I know came across the Canadian border and does have some is the Shetland. And that was because of their emphasis on self, the self color, without an understanding of genetics to begin with. And the minute they saw all solid, they said, okay, that's self animal, you know, and it's not. This midnight blue that we've just found, it's very difficult to see. I first picked it up in a camera, which sees more than my eyes. Looked like a totally black animal, except the camera kept picking up like just shadows, different tone of black, just shadows. I suspected and put a couple of those together. One of them ended up being double midnight blue. And sure enough, what did I see? Little silver on the back of both ears. Just cute. But again, not white. In fact, I might have a picture of what it likes to do on the back of the ears. Ah, come on, baby. It's a new, nope, I don't have it. I have it in my photo books at home. But it was something that the camera could see that I couldn't. And I think what you're going to find with the darkness and the changeability of the Gotland fleeces, 2 weeks maybe is a good time for you. But flip them over and don't you look and say, oh, there's nothing there. Don't do that. Let the camera tell you there's nothing there. Go ahead and take your series of 5 shots. And I think what you will find, if you watch your lighting, is that you will start to see certain of your patterns are there, but they're going to be there almost as shadings. And I think someone who set up your breed standard suspected that, because in your breed standard it says no distinct patterns, but shading is allowed. So somebody has a clue that there's something there dark. You've got alleles around. One of the ways to know that blues are there, other than the ghosty stuff, you've got some sheep in there now, have ghosty portions of the blue circle, you watch. But again, they're just silver, you know, just silver. And hints of teardrops, but they don't want to show them. But what the blues love to do, that you'll see a lot, is the back of the neck and the nape of the neck likes to not show anything but black, and you've got tons of them in there doing that.
Right.
Okay, that is, I call it an area of aversion. If the animal's got a blue anything, it likes to leave that black, likes to leave the base pigment show, doesn't like to put any contrast there. So, I would be glad to entertain any questions. I've just been going on. I've got so much to say, but I don't know what you need. I don't know how helpful this has been.
Do you think that the colors and patterns in the Northern European short tails differ from the other more established long breeds that we're using in our foundation? Do they express different?
Oh yes, they would express different, for sure.
Okay, how?
Your long wools are going to be much more out there. Your northern shorts are going to be a little more subtle. You have the possibility of morit, which is a brown pigment coming in because of the Shetland. That would give you another variation on color if you're interested.
It's also, morit's also available in Finns and Icelandics too.
Okay, then you've got that complication in there. Now, maybe as long as you've got that complication, because we've just okayed that with the Romneys. I've just been through that. I know how to do that. Your black pigment, now we're at the B locus now, and pigment is so important to sheep. It's not on the higher numbered chromosomes. You know, chromosomes are numbered by size because God or nature, whoever, put all the real important stuff about life in great big chromosomes that are much bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those have a lot more genes in them than 14, 15, 16, whatever it is. Okay. The B locus is on chromosome 2. your black-based is the most common gene pair, so it will be B plus, B plus. That's black. All right? And that is pigment. It's a chain, it's a carbon chain. It's made in the cell and exited up to go out to the shaft. The cell is all full of wonderful, wonderful things. Some of them not too nice. One of our major waste products in all of our mammalian bodies is hydrogen peroxide. Well, now, most of you are too young, but when I was younger, the real fast girls at high school would do this lightening of their hair by putting hydrogen peroxide on it, right? Okay. That's essentially what moret is. It's the same molecule. But here's the brown pair. All right. Now, if it's got 2 copies of that, oh Lordy, Margaret, can you do that? Oh yes. Okay. If it has 2 copies of that, that will be moret. And what that does is the cell allows the same chain, the same eumelanin chain, to be oxidized. So it comes out brown, happy like fast girls at high school. Okay, a little lighter. All right? But it's still a carbon chain, only it's been oxidized. Your moret carriers, which you might run into because of your short tails, those are going to appear visually black, but they're going to have 1 copy of the brown, so they're going to look black. And therein is the danger if you don't want moret, because this is a recessive, so it can sneak in just like any other color pattern. I'm in the process of developing moret for the Romney, and what I did is I brought a moret ram in, and every one of his babies, regardless of the fact that they looked black, a couple of them were white, they got a different color ear tag. I wasn't taking any chance of letting this gene escape into my black gene pool, because you can't see it.
We're having this big discussion. Maybe Robin, you'd be more inclined to introducing a little bit what the discussion is about and how you can benefit on that.
We're trying to clarify our registration process, and there's one group that wants to, for the color, have either black or moret, and then the patterns separately. But there's another faction that wants to have black moret and black carrying brown in there for our colors.
Are your breeders aware enough to know for sure
Well,
on
they
a
said that-
carrier? Because, who?
They said that only if that animal was black and came from a moret pair would that.
Be indicated.
Okay.
They're asking for a lot of specifics.
I think it was to note that if you know that animal carries brown, that it has produced or come from a brown
Yes,
line, that
you could
know
do
that.
that.
It has black carrying brown.
You could do that as long as, here's a situation that can happen. You can end up with a one-way street. Things can only devolve. How, if something happens and you want to move an animal out of that moret carrier, how do you do that? Is there going to be a mechanism? There is. There's a test has been developed by Chris Posberg. I don't know whether it will be hair or blood, but you are going to be able to actually genetically test for moret carrier.
It's wonderful.
As well as moret. You will know which of your breeds brought the moret in, because it's a slightly different gene, slight different location on chromosome 2. But I think it's important that all your breeders should feel comfortable. So if you can go one way on a street, make sure that there's some mechanism to be able to go the other way on the street. For instance, in the Romney right now, we have a problem. You can take a white and put it on a recessive or a color carrier or whatever, and you can turn those babies into recessives or B factors. But there's no way to go back. So we are in the danger of losing our white gene pool. You don't want to lose your gene pool. See? So I would suggest it would be better to have different ear tags, see what you get. You might not like more at Gotland's. What if they don't have a nice pigment chain? What if it's light and blah and looks like oatmeal? You might not want it. You know, I mean, how would you know unless you develop it? Because you've already got a pigment that likes to move on you if they're born black and then they lighten up.
Yes. But here's part of my issue is that, okay, at this base they are registered. At this base they're recordable. It just seems like you're isolating and saying you're not that good. And I don't know if I'm wrong or if the concept is wrong.
Something I said meant that?
No. In
In
the
our group.
association, if they're lower than a certain percentage, they're recorded. Above
it
that, they're
sounds like-
registered 75%.
Sort of sounds
And
like
I think
by
that's where
too.
a lot of the
They're starting to say that.
Like the patterns
and the
are,
colors and the
are
patterns.
not registered, they're recorded. If they're English blue, for example, I think that's...
because they don't need the Gotland's.
Why don't you just have a floor instead of a ceiling?
Yeah.
Why can't you use a floor like you would weights, for instance? If you put weights out, you could say between 2 and 3 years of age, a Romney ewe should weigh 170. She's still registered. And it's strictly a floor.
How do we do that with color, though? When we've got all these patterns we're working with and trying to encourage people to go to the grays and get rid of these other patterns that are going to
If they identified what you need your people to do is to be aware enough of the color patterns that when they see them, they say, okay, this is what I've got. It's a little higher than what I need, but I could put that ewe on something I consider self. Or I could put that ewe on something that looks like maybe she might be carrying a dark blue. I can probably bring that down. I can probably get rid of that. You've got several animals in there where I know they're carrying pattern, but it's very muted. They've been brought down with a darker pattern. But I would hate for good foundation animals to be let go.
Well,
Or not used.
Those would be in the recorded category where they can be used, but they are not considered to meet our standards.
But that's what this lady is saying is somewhat insulting.
Very restrictive, I guess.
It has to be able to weed out these other patterns that we brought in from the foundation. That was the intention, is to encourage people to breed towards the Gotland Grays and not keep badger faces and fawns, all these other patterns that would be.
What happens if someone can be recorded but not registered? What happens to their sheep? How do they sell their sheep?
Exactly.
They can be used in a breeding program, and then when they throw the lambs that do meet the standard, then they can be registered if all the other factors. The
Okay,
percentage-
so they are essentially foundation animals
They're
themselves.
foundation animals themselves.
That's
Okay, I guess I would look, maybe that would be a kind thing to say. Maybe those are still your foundation animals until they get to a certain point where they would be registered. That might go over very well.
well, we call our foundation breeds, that are pure.
Oh, it's all
Brussels sprouts.
semantics. I'm suggesting all semantics.
Right.
Yes.
Like, for example, I have animals that have a lot of white on their face. You can't have more than 30% white.
I
on
read
their
that,
face.
yes.
And so I can record this ewe. I've sold her now. She's going to go in a week to her new
Sure.
home. But she can be used. Her ram lamb has one small white spot on his head. Otherwise, he's black.
Was she badger or spotted? What was this?
It's a, I don't know what you call it. It's basically a band of wide white that comes down the face.
Bright white.
Pretty bright white, yeah.
That was probably spotting then. Your
She looks like
agouti patterns are usually, like I say, they're not going to be that marshmallow or snow white. They're going to be just teeny bit off, like if you held up two.
She looks
Well,
like a skull,
here,
actually.
this is white.
going on around her eye.
This is white, right?
Yeah,
But so's that.
right.
Okay, this could be an agouti. This would be more agouti. This is more spotting. Yeah. I wish I could help you with more, but you're dealing, I'm overwhelmed. I'm very impressed with what you're dealing with the number of foundation breeds, the restriction on your patterns. If I were in your situation, I would be emphasizing a good sheep and as dark as I could get.
That's kind of
That's pretty much what I would do.
Like ostracizing.
Without ostracizing, I would go to the thesaurus and find another word that means foundational, and I would, instead of calling them not registered or whatever.
It's recorded.
Yes, but there should be a very strokey kind of word. Keep your breeders happy, you know.
We call the sheep that, from the foundation breeds, we call those, in their registered, recorded, whatever, as foundation with an F.
Right.
And then as we're getting percentages, some of the first crosses, then they're recorded until they're up to a certain percentage and also meet the rest of the standard, which means that they're not showing the non-gray patterns, that they may be showing badger flays, Teflon, English blue.
I think you're going to be surprised in the patterns that are probably in the Swedish Scotland to begin with, I suspect.
That was a surprise to me when you said that the sires being brought in have.
Yes, I was surprised too when I went. But you've got a series. I think I could look it up, but I think I found 11 different sires you guys had pictures of. And I was amazed.
I know there's one with teardrops that I saw.
Yeah.
In the Gotland sires, like
Yes.
the semen, the imported semen.
When you go on your website, it says something about genetics history or something, and you click on that, and you can bring up UK semen,
Yeah.
So, okay, if you go there, they show you the pictures where the semen are from.
Yes. So
Well,
there's one that is English.
It's one of the UK.
oh, it's not, it's more than one. I can show you the numbers I worked.
Because I was curious, actually, like what are they dealing, like how different
Here's the numbers I
the
worked.
makeup of what they have over there?
Okay.
Well, and that's part of what the
Okay, the import from the UK, there were 8 rams.
Yeah.
3 of them have crown spots and 2 of them show pattern.
what patterns were you seeing?
Oh, I wasn't going to do that to you. This was, I already knew that I was going to get into politics I didn't want to touch, so I'm not going there. 2009, you had New Zealand, there were 3 of them.
Okay.
They all show shadings of blue, there's no question. 2011, you had 11. 2 of them shown crown spotting and 4 were blues, show blue shading, no question. 27, you had 8 in from Sweden. Again, crown spots on 3, and 2 of them were the blues. When I add that together, you had 60% of your imported semen showed one of 2 things were forbidden in the standard. Either crown spot or shadings. So I suspect that their standard and the Gotland itself was way before anybody knew about genetics.
Right.
Before we knew
Okay, before anything. So they've got things that they've been sitting there up there in that cold place, they've been interbreeding. Okay, so they've got blues, they emphasize what they liked by selection, and they have suppressed and muted some of the expression. Doesn't mean the pattern's not there. Doesn't mean the gene's not there. Anyway, I think I would just be careful by Xing out and saying they're not there.
Right.
Because there are too many recessive choices on all of your BASE choices.
Well, the thing is if we're trying to, it seems as though there's a desire to move closer to the Swedish standard.
Right.
The Swedes have these colors and patterns, the spots and patterns in their
Doesn't
genetics.
mean they recognize it.
I know, and that's
I deal with Diane Folk in
it's
France.
really interesting to talk with Annette a little bit about
Yeah.
this and see how.
I deal with the French and the German in Europe. We know a lot. Well, we use our genetics more. They don't.
No.
They're into small flocks or small herds, and we've always done it that way. And that's the way it is. Don't mess with it. It doesn't mean that they can give you any answers on the genetics. That's why I went to look at the pictures. I wanted to see for myself.
Let's go look at some in the bar.
What's interesting here is that they are still showing some pattern shadows of that we talked about in the talk. This little one, for instance, well, they're not going to cooperate, but do you see a shadow of a blue there across her nose? Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's a good shirt. You like that shirt?
Yummy.
But it's got the sugar lips you look for. That could very well be gray, AG. But she's dark. She's also got a little hints here of pattern around the head, around the eyes. But she's very, very dark. She's got AG, I'm thinking, is what's showing in the ear. She's got silver inside the ear. Hi, baby. This is very dark. I see nothing there but what you guys define as Gotland. Whoever this is. If you wanted to go dark, that would be a good call, I should think. Oh, I know.
So can I say something about him? He is this guy, this
Yes.
little guy. He is exactly the same genetics as the other ram over there that is laying down that is a year older.
Ah, the one I commented on.
I don't know, the one that is over there. And the reason why I'm pointing it is because I'm just wondering, this is how this one started. And then he turned out this way.
Well,
He's
let's
over
go
there.
look at him. Ah, but look how nice and dark that head is. Very, very nice.
But what about the lighter?
That is going to be that is a blue. That's an area of aversion down the back, dorsal stripe. That could account for why he's so dark. Nice boy. Yeah, I think the Swedish people have been playing with some suppression on the blues. That's nice. That's very nice. Well, here's another sheep showing pattern right here. This little person, are you going to be... See those shadows going up along the eye? Shadows on the side? Light in the ears. Something, it's gray in the ears, but you've got another dark pattern there that's suppressing because there's no big sugar lips and there's no spoon. So that's a mixed agouti pair there.
And this guy, twin of the one you just say.
I
looked at,
believe, and look how dark.
And this, and exactly same genetics as this guy too.
Now, I am also correct, I hope, in assuming that that is the look that everyone's heading towards. They want a solid face. Is this correct?
No.
And dark.
The eye circles, the sugar lips.
Well, the eye circles and the sugar lips that you're seeing, that's coming out of AG.
Right, and that's more what we thought was Scotland.
But to hold the depth of your color on the pigment and to get your variation, you want AG and you want this. Because you won't know what you've got unless you use a self or a solid animal like this.
Okay.
See? You're going to want to keep parsing.
Would you call this a silk color?
No, I'm not talking about him.
Oh, this
Talking about this little guy here.
gotcha.
Oh no, he's still showing patterns, see? But if he's worthwhile, if this one is worthwhile in every other way, why not see what his second allele is,
Okay.
put with this, see if you can go darker and bring it out. Find out what the heck that is. In other words, if you don't ask questions and then go ahead and mix down low to test, you won't know what you've got because they have suppressed pattern. You can still see the shadows on this one.
Correct.
All right? This one not.
But what about this lighter?
That tends to be what your Gotland gray likes to do, I think, is get that light color out. In fact, I've seen that on most of the Gotlands in here.
Right.
Quickly, I'm curious about this one here. She's got a full black face. She's got a little bit of a lighter ring around.
Yeah, but she's suppressing something. And do you see, if you just mute your eye, do you see that you've got a partial nose ring there? She's a gray and a blue. I bet you any money.
Okay.
But test again, progeny test. But if it were my guess, I would guess she was a gray and a blue. She's got lighter inside the neck.
No.
She's showing the circle around.
Right.
The sugar lips are only partial, and a blue will try to make everything very dark, and see it's darkened that.
So this one.
Same, you've got the same situation
same.
here. Yeah, you got the same situation. Tone is different, but you know, we talked about 359, you know, million different ways. We think they're the same, but no, they're always going to be a little different.
This one here has some even more.
That's a mask. That could vary. That could vary. That's showing pattern big time.
Yeah.
And I would want to know what that was. I would love to put that on something I knew for sure was solid self.
Right.
But you'd only get one of the alleles that one's carrying, but you could identify it if it was against a solid, see? Because the solid's showing nothing. I would want to know what that was.
Is there anything with the brown or fawn at kind of the edge around the ear, you know, behind the ears?
I have seen two things in here that I suspect are more carriers.
Interesting.
Okay, but I'm not sure.
that.
But you should, with the Icelandic and the Finns and the Shetlands.
While we're here, can you comment on the ones that at the same age they're much darker as opposed to, say, those over there that are a much lighter color as far as pattern and
Well, you've got
color?
pattern differences, but just remember that the eumelanin chain is a rather amorphous molecule, and that depends on family efficiencies. Some families will put out a carbon chain of 8 carbons. You have other families that will put out 27, 28 carbons to make the same molecule. Well, if you're jamming a 27 chain carbon up into a small shaft and you're doing it very efficiently, it's going to a lot darker than somebody with an 8. So you've got different things going. That's why you pick the color you like. It's going to be a combination of pattern and family. But also suspect that maybe the darker ones, maybe there's something there you don't know about. Maybe it's midnight blue, because it will darken stuff.
And is the
Okay?
is the tone like some seem so like blue, like a true blue. Others look very much gray or charcoal.
I think we're back to the same thing
Okay.
that we just talked about.
Okay, got it.
That's a gray. You've got the spoon on the nose. If you had turned it over at 2 weeks, it probably would have had that frosting on the belly. It's got the spoon here. And then, of course, you had your Gotland habit of it getting lighter.
These are all ram lambs.
That's AG. That's showing, now here's,
These are part of a set of triplets. This is
yeah. Yeah. So this is AG. So I would put AG A blank. You don't know what the second allele is. You've got spotting, but it's not full spotting, so you've only got one copy. That's not a problem. You can move that out. It's one copy of spotting.
Does that increase as they're older? I haven't really raised many yearlings yet.
Spotting shouldn't. It should stay there. It's not going to spread, if that's what you mean.
Mother has a white, and all triplets, all of hers have a white on the crown.
Right.
And you'll see the ewe.
Yeah, no, that's a single copy, so that's that S plus SS. And this one especially is showing the gray. You notice that there's no area of aversion there at the back of the neck like you'd see with the blue. See how gray it is there? Okay, so gray is probably his highest agouti allele. He's not carrying. I don't think that this is going to show a blue unless it's way down. It didn't cause it to avert on the back of the neck.
But see, and they were darker when they were born, and now they're
Sure.
lightening up,
Sure.
which they do.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
sweetie.
Just
So
nice.
this is the sister to those two. This is the triplet. Look,
Now that's one of your darker people, isn't it?
yes, yes.
Yes.
And her brother is that one.
Ah, yes. Okay, so you're on your way with these two, right? Yeah, I think so.
I thought so.
I think so.
But he has shading on the side of his jaw. You see? It seemed. Is
Yes,
what
I
I'm
see
seeing?
it. I see it. part of that is the Gotland thing, but he's got. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it, like I said,
I would
this
like
is
to have seen
evolving.
I would like to have seen a picture, a lamb shot of him at, say, 2 weeks, something like that.
Yes.
But they're not carrying the same genetic pair at all.
Isn't that interesting?
They are not. But you've already worked out then, and you're getting darker. You've got your solid face. Yep. This is nice. But see, look at the depth of color on this one. All you need is one allele change there, and you're going to be over there. You're going to have another one.
That's just fine.
I think that's what it would look like. And your one copy of S, that's not a problem. Hi, baby.
These are the yearlings. And they are underlip and here.
Is that just part of the spotting pattern? See that line?
I can't. It's holding its neck funny. No, it's straight down the middle. Straight down the middle. You know what? I think that's a gray.
This one kind of has it too.
Yeah, I think that's a gray. That's part of the pattern. I wouldn't worry about it. But she's already darkened it up with whatever she's done to produce these other two.
And these are the yearling sisters to the other white tops. So when I rinse them out, it's surprising
Now,
how light they are.
yeah. Again, though, see that? See that down the back?
Yes.
Okay, that's that area of aversion. So I don't know that I would have known it, but I think you've got a blue being carried here. Hi, baby. This one's still got spotting. And that, I think, is something darkening a gray. I don't think that's spotting around there. It's too symmetrical, but it's spotting on the head.
The ears are changing.
Yeah, spotting on the head.
Yeah.
You've got blue, you guys have got so much blue in these Gotlands. And you've got to figure out when, don't trust your eye, trust the camera. Get those 5 shots. Say try it at 2 weeks, say try it at 3 weeks. Something, and you're gonna see a contrast and you're gonna say, oh my God, that looks just like that picture on page, whatever it is. Only it's in charcoal instead of, but because all a goodie is gonna do is a contrast. Doesn't have to be white, doesn't have to be silver. It can be a contrast. Your camera's going to see it before you will. And you just want to keep what she did here when she went from something very light and then she's darkened within a generation. I think that's what you're wanting to do.
I think you'll see that these lambs will end up as light as the AGU down there on the end. She was as dark as these guys here. They keep lightening. They start out black and they keep light.
Ideally, don't you want a combination of light and silver in the curl?
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
Then
That's ideal.
Then you've got to figure out a way to keep it. And I think you have to go dark.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've got to go dark.
So color in a bottle won't do it, will it?
Well, you could try it. You could try it. I've often thought of color in a bottle.
Oh, come on. Go
Mine is a color.
By
fast.
definition, that is what the Gotland wanted, was a long staple. Should be between 5 and 7 inches, right? In Sweden, sometimes they shear twice a year because it gets so long like that. Yeah, I commented. Do you remember I commented on this guy's fleece?
And I don't see any patterns
No,
or
there's
spots
not.
on his
So
face.
he would be a self-color.
And I like
What
his body
percentage is he?
structure. He's 98.8, I think. 98.8 plus.
But he's got a New Zealand sire, correct?
He has Stark is his sire, and I think he
Was one of the embryos.
may have.
Oh,
he does
you
have New Zealand
you
in
s-
him.
you skipped a step, huh? Went right straight for
That's
the
right.
embryo.
Whoa.
I'm trying to
But
think.
if he's 98, didn't he have one of the embryos as a sire that Annette brought in?
Oh yes.
Okay, that's what I was
Stark is his so it was an AI. It was an AI.
These are not brother and sister.
It was AI.
These are not sibs, are they?
I don't believe so. I think this might
This
be a
has got
Phillips
this has got a different lock structure entirely than that one.
On these little guys I have with the white head,
Yes.
what should I, is there a future for them? That's the question.
I think they only have one copy at the S location. So it's a 50-50 where they're going to throw it. If you knew of a ewe line that absolutely never showed me spotting, you could put them together, you'd have a 50-50 shot of getting a lamb out with no spotting. Then at that point, you've held the line and you can move them on. You've taken the spotting out. I did the same thing when I wanted to move ED out. I took my EDs, put them on pure whites. When they gave me a white ewe lamb, I kept the white ewe lamb. Extension dominant was gone. Okay, this is the same kind of situation.
What scares me is I was talked into buying the ram who's the sire of those white-top children. So,
But do you know for sure the ewe didn't carry it?
She does have a white spot on her head.
Yeah. You
It's
never.
not big.
It doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
No, because what that comes from is if they have the spotting allele, all of the cells in a body, in a mammal's body, comes out of a thing called the neural crest. It's shaped like a trough. And cells by the millions pour out as though you were overflowing a trough.
Right.
Pour out the front and the back and the sides. Well, that's the head and the tail, and that's the sides.
You have such a great way of describing how.
Simple things for simple people.
Well, and
You
we
know,
need
it's.
that.
I know I'm the simple person.
We're complex.
So that's why you end up with a spot on the head and the tail. Those are the cells that go out at first.
Okay.
It's not in the rest. It's just these are cells with no melanin.
Okay.
So if you can move that allele out, you're fine. I think I have done all the damage I can possibly do to you poor people.
I so appreciate you coming and talking to us.
Oh, it was nice.